Good evening, wrestling community, and welcome to another edition of Wrestle Talk Show. I'm your host, Joshua Zimmerman, here to bring you professional wrestling's news, bits, rumors, anything and everything pro wrestling. We cover it right here. First announcement we want to make is we've made some key updates to WrestleTalkShow.webs.com, Wrestle Talk Show's official website. You'll notice a new blog that outlines my advice to Dixie Carter for a successful 2011, all the latest videos, and as well as we mentioned in last night's video, membership rates starting at $250 a month for exclusive content not available on the free site. And as we always do, we want to thank our audience. Without you, this would not be possible. Increased viewership since my return right after Christmas lets me know that more and more of you want this. The female demographics increase daily. The male demographics are kind of steady, and our age ranges from 13 to 55, male and female. So once again, thank you. I am humble. We appreciate it. And let's move into my first purchase for professional wrestling in 2011 is the year of 2010 WWE Magazine. Just to forewarn you, before you go out and spend $9.99, 95% of this magazine is photos and match recaps. One thing that you might find trivial, but on page 6, when Bret Hart made his return to WWE on January 4th, 2010, they got a shot of Vince McMahon low blowing, or what was supposed to appear as a low blow, to Bret Hart after Bret Hart extended his hand to Vince after making amends with Shawn Michaels. You'll notice that the low blow is not a low blow at all, but a kick to the upper left thigh. Now, whether this is just a bad camera angle or they intentionally meant to put it there, it kind of does away with the wanting to make it seem real when you can clearly see that that's not where Vince hit Bret at all. Moving on to another interesting tidbit, in the back of the magazine was all the superstars that debuted for the year 2010, when they debuted, what program they debuted on, and I just found it kind of interesting that Kaval, an NXT winner, was debuted on June 8th, 2010, only to be released just before Christmas of 2010. Thus, he had less than a 6-month run as a WWE superstar, only to go back as low-key and no longer with the wrestling company. There's reports that he twittered that he asked for his release, but as we're noticing more and more, it just looks better, because what would you rather tell someone? You were fired from your job, or you decided to quit your job? What sounds better? So that one's common sense. Financial news for WWE. The first week of 2011 stock reports have come out. It was gauged from January 3rd to January 7th. As of January 3rd, WWE stock was worth $14.24 a share. Had most of its activity happen on January 4th, with a high of $14.37. This was also a day of high trading volume for the company, where 296,648 shares were traded. Tuesday brought a share increase of 24 cents, only to have the stock close on January 7th at $14 a share. So within a week, it's lost 37 cents. The stock has actually decreased. Any way you look at it, it's decreased. This goes back to what WWE shareholders and what we commented on last night about the high dividend payouts, where despite the company losing money over the last 2 years, shareholders are still receiving, and WWE is still maintaining a high dividend payout. And now shareholders are questioning why, if we're losing money, why are you still giving us high dividends? And this kind of doesn't make sense, because when the financial downturn for everyone happened a couple years back, WWE made it known that it was going to downsize. It limits itself on the pyro it uses. It cut some of its unneeded staff, etc., etc. And more or less the shareholders this week came out and said they would more or less accept lower dividend payouts just to maintain financial security for the company. An outside company called Y Charts, which is a financial review site, reviewed WWE's dividend policy and said that a slight dividend decrease would secure financial sanity for the company. And most of these stockholders have been there for the long haul. And like I said before, they're more or less saying that they wouldn't mind being paid less every quarter to know that the company is in better shape. So we'll see what happens with that. Kurt Angle, happening now, as we mentioned, happening right now is TNA's Genesis pay-per-view, which marks the return for TNA wrestler Kurt Angle. Kurt Angle is also slotted to work this pay-per-view, so one has to wonder, in the weeks that TNA has been bombing in the ratings, why Kurt Angle was not made a bigger factor leading up to this pay-per-view. We just now, as of last week, end of last week rather, heard about Kurt Angle's return and that he would be coming back, but you'd think that given the poor ratings and the poor product and how they're struggling to find ground for the product right now and stories that stick, why they wouldn't have built this up to be bigger than it was. But it's TNA, and you never know. Hopefully tomorrow when we do our Genesis coverage, we'll find out exactly why, but chances are that there's no good reason at all, and TNA just dropped the ball yet again. January 6th Impact, titled The Good, the Bad, the Ugly. I don't know how many times I have to emphasize, you do not need to label your televised events. It gives away the matches. It gives away the story, the segments in that show. It gives away the whole show. Stop titling it. Monday Night Raw doesn't go WWE Monday Night Raw presents John Cena attacks the Nexus. They give you on your TV guide WWE Monday Night Raw from 9 to 11. Card subject to change is a given. This way, anything that happens could happen. When you turn on the TV, hit info, and you get a complete rundown of the show, then what's the point of watching the program? Nonetheless, it scored a 1.15 viewership rating, up from last week's 1.1 by 0.14. Well, you can tell just by doing your own math, it's up slightly, but nothing I would brag about. But it comes to find out that TNA just might have benefited from also the premiere of MTV's popular show Jersey Shore, which TNA mimics all the time. The show Jersey Shore, surprisingly, well, for TNA, sadly, got a 4.2 rating in adults 18 to 49 and averaged 8.5 million viewers. So, you gotta wonder. But moving on to other things, we can, like we said, our segment is how to fix TNA for 2011. If I didn't get into it last video and through the blog, if you don't have time to read the blog or haven't gotten to yet, please do. But here's a quick rundown. Beginning in 2010, Dixie Carter asked her father for increased capital. She got said increased capital, well, not 2010, I should say a little sooner, but over the course of the last 2 years, let's say, she's gotten Jeff Hardy, Eric Bischoff, Vince Russo, Hulk Hogan, all people that have multi-million-dollar concrete contracts for multiple years. They're going to make this money whether the company does an amazing job or if it does what it's doing now, which is a piss-poor job. We reported that even with these increases, TNA is down in overall ratings from last year where it stood at a 1.14. It stands this year at a 1.08 or less. So even with all the things that she tried to do, the Monday Night War that failed miserably and forced them back to Thursday, all these big investments that have not paid off for her yet, and we reported a couple months ago where Janice Carter stopped the money train for Dixie because she wants to see some of her dividends pay off, and none of them are. This is a clear sign that you're doing something wrong when you hire some of the biggest talent in wrestling and they've done nothing for you. Hulk Hogan should be in a manager's position or stick him permanently behind the scenes in his creative spot. He should not be given as much mic time as he's given. He's not a wrestler. With his back surgeries and issues in general, he's in no condition to wrestle anymore. You have your own talent. Push your own talent. No, what have you done? You've made AJ Styles yesterday's news. What sense did that make? You were known for your X Division. Where's your X Division? It no longer exists. You have the Pope with your Donovan McNabb's, Michael Vick stereotype, where you're portraying him as this priest who steals contributors' money and spends it on strip clubs and booze. Bad precedence, bad taste. And it's real simple, and I know some would argue that it's harder than I'm making it out to be, but go back to when your program was at its peak, look at what you had, look at what you were doing, and then not necessarily go back to it, but get rid of all the people that weren't involved in that. Because if you didn't need them then, you don't need them now. And it's just taking up money that you could be using to better the company with the resources that you've already established. You established AJ Styles as the next superstar in wrestling. But instead, you put him on the back burner for this Robbie E. and Cookie bullshit. Because everybody was following the Jersey Shore. TNA needed to do it. It's real simple, TNA. Look at what you were doing when you were at your peak. Look at where you are now. Get rid of all the people that you hired because they're not making you money. If anything, they've lost you money. You've lost ratings. You've lost reaction. How much? And what boggles the mind more is Spike TV wants another TNA program to take the place of reaction. What's the point? Didn't you get the message? No one was watching reaction. No one cared. You make the product so no one cares about it. Simply go back, fire Eric Bischoff and Vince Russo, and go from there, and then build up. You can only go up from there. Send show emails to cwecompany@gmail.com. Anything about the show. WrestleTalkShow.webs.com. Friend us on Facebook and Twitter at both CWE Company. And until next time, thanks for viewing. Have an excellent night, and we'll have Genesis coverage tomorrow night. See ya.